Hi everyone, it's Cheryl. Welcome back. We're going to do part 2 of this and get it finished up. So, the only thing I have done since I saw you last was I put some Mod Podge on the spine area on my flap because I think that just gives it a little more stability. So I wanted to let you know I did do that and I do recommend it. You don't have to. I just recommend it. I'm trying to get it centered, but I've got the camera zoomed in because of the lighting. I'm trying a different thing with the lighting again here, and as you can see, I'm getting a lot of shadow. I am sorry about that. I need to get a light in this room that is going to work. That's on the agenda. It's just not happening yet. We're supposed to have nice weather here today. I'm really excited about that. It's supposed to actually get in the 40s and 50s, and when you live in South Dakota and it's early March, you're ecstatic when it's supposed to be in the 40s and 50s, because it's been a long, cold winter. It's been like, here it's been like, you get one day that'll be in the 30s, maybe even the 40s, and the next day it's like in the teens or single digits or even below zero. So we celebrate when it gets into the 40s and 50s. It's a South Dakota thing. Anyway, I'm going to be doing the inside of this today and finishing it up for you. So basically what I have right now is just my art journal open, and I'm going to use up some cardstock I've had laying around forever. I got it in a swap years ago, and so I'm just going to do yellow on the inside, and since there's orange and red on the outside, I'm going to do orange, and it's going to be really bright and colorful, but it's an art journal, and I will eventually probably embellish the outside anyway, so I am using yellow and orange, and I'm going to be festive and bright. So what I need to do next is, besides find my ruler, I've got a mess up here, so if we have crashes, it's just my usual crafting. First thing I'm going to do is remeasure again, because you can never measure too many times, and since I did leave this longer, I need, an exact measurement. So I'm going to be measuring from the fold. I don't want to go over the little fold line here, and over to the fold line over here, and I do not want to go over that either, so this piece has to fit right in between your fold lines. So it looks like it is right about 6 5/8. I'm going to cut it at 6 1/2 to be safe. But before we go ahead and cut that one, I am going to take the orange and I am going to measure out for because I don't want the folder showing on the inside. I am going to make a piece that's going to go over the inside, and then the pieces for the back and the front are going to overlap the edges of that, and that's going to add a little more stability. And so we're going to be cutting that piece first, and I'm going to measure that too. This is exactly 9 inches, and it's 3/4 from fold line to fold line here, and then I'm going to want to add on to that. So I think what I'm going to make it is probably, I'm going to give myself 1 inch either side. So I'm going to need 2 3/4 inches total. So we will cut that first. Back here at 2 3/4. Oops, that's got a bad corner on it. It wouldn't really make any difference, but it does to me, so I'll use this side. 2 3/4. And I want to cut it at exactly 9 inches. There we go. And I'll save this little piece for something else. I never throw out my scraps. That's probably why I have so much paper around here. Okay, so back to this. And what I'm going to want to do is I am going to want to crease this. And since I said I wanted to leave 1 inch on either side, I'm just going to get out my scoreboard here, which looks like it could use a good cleaning again. And I'm going to score up the 1 inch line. And this is not overly thick cardstock, so. And then I'm going to do the 1 3/4. And that should leave me 1 inch on the other side. So having done that, I'm just going to bend it up and fold it. And I like to fold slow because some of your better cardstock will break if you don't fold it over slowly and then crease it down. So I just kind of sit there and work it over with my thumbs going across, and I get a nice fold on my cardstock. Put this down. Nice part about the small craft area is I can pretty much reach everything except for my big shelves over on the other side and my plastic containers, my plastic things on the other side. So now I am just going to go ahead and just glue this down, and I'm going to start. I always start in the center of my spine, and there's a reason for that, and I will explain that when I get that far. So I'm just going to apply a really liberal amount of my favorite tacky glue to the middle of the spine, and I'm not going to worry if I get over my little folds because that really isn't going to make any difference right now. Go, and I am going to center the piece of cardstock in between my folds. And my folds. There we go. That one is right. And the bottom is right. And I'm just going to push that down really good because I want it to stick. But I want to be careful that I'm not moving it around either while I'm pushing it down. Let the glue have a chance to really grab. And what I like to do is I like to fold up one side and see that, you know, that this has no ripples, that it's glued down right. Then I go ahead and glue my sides in. The reason I do that is sometimes if it's not laying exact along your folds, this will ripple when you go to put it in, and then you just have a mess. You have to try to straighten it out. Sometimes you have to take it loose. And that's just something I'd rather not do. So I always check first to make sure, even though it looks like I have it lined up perfectly, sometimes you got to tweak it just a tiny bit. So when I do that and I push it down flat, but I also pull it up and push it down. And that is simply because so I don't get the wrinkles along this edge. So I push it down and then I bend it up. And as you can see, I have, when it's bent, I have no wrinkles. It's not popping up anywhere. It's just going to lay nice and flat, either open or closed. And that's why I do that way. If you have a better way that works for you, by all means use it. Come on. Ugh. My endless fight with the glue. I should just lay it down. As I said in the last video, I don't always trust doing that because I've had it ooze everywhere and make one heck of a mess. And I don't like cleaning up glue. It's not one of my favorite things. But I'm going to lay it down and trust that it won't do that. Okay, so now I'm just going to do the same thing with this side. I'm going to fold it over, secure it, and then I'm going to pull it up. And I don't know if you can see this right here, but I do have just a little ripple there. So I'm going to want to smooth that out and bend it. And sometimes I like to even crease mine down a little bit like that, just to make sure. And once again, I have a nice straight piece here. Sorry, words are evading me today. I am so excited, and I see I'm a little bit off on the bottom, so I'm going to trim that right now. I have got, well, every other week, because we have a girl who works with us who's still in college, her schedule doesn't allow her to work like every day on her, you know, the days on the shift she works. And we're both full-time days, so when she started working with us, and I mean, I was glad to have her, she's a good worker. And when she started working, they asked me if I would switch my hours up a little bit. So now I work every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then every other week, I always have Monday and Friday off right now, and this is just till the end of college, unfortunately, for this year. But then I have every Monday and Friday off, and so we work every other weekend. And so, like on this weekend, I get 4 days off, and then I requested leave because I guess I have a whole bunch of vacation time. I requested leave for Tuesday because the weather is supposed to be bad anyway, and I'm tired of driving in it. And so if that gets approved, I get a 5-day weekend, which is going to be awesome. So I can really get some stuff done, maybe get another crafting video in. Okay, so everything looks good here, so I can go ahead and cut my pieces for this now. And I said I was going to do this one 6.5 by 9. get this yellow. It too has a bad corner, so I want to make sure I get the right side here. Just go out 6.5. And 9 inches this way. I had a couple bad corners, but we can cut that off. So, and we'll call that good. And I should go ahead, while I'm at it, and got the cutter out here, just go ahead and measure this side. And see, I'm going to want that one at probably about 6 1/4. And I am going all the way out to my edges. You wouldn't have to. I mean, if you wanted to paint them or do something else with them, that would work. If you wanted a little border around, I'm just going all the way out to my edges. And now, being me, I have forgotten what I said I was going to do here. I'm going to go 6 1/4. That's going to leave me just a little bit, but I'm okay with that. Let a little of the orange show. Oh, I got bad corners everywhere. Okay, let's go this way. Like I said, I've had this stuff forever, and it's just... This is where I'm going to find out I cut wrong and not have any more yellow, because these are the only 2 sheets of this I have. And then it'll be my usual crafting, where I tend to have some sort of mishap or something like that. So, alright, put this out of the way and grab my glue, which hopefully is not... And I mean, if you... I am not, like I said, I'm not using like a brayer on these to smooth them down, but you sure could if you wanted to. I'm just going to do it with my hand. In all reality, I'll probably doodle on these eventually anyway, or I'll come up with an idea for my journal and try it out on there, like kind of like sketching it, so we'll see. So it's not going to matter to me that these are just plain. I mean, if you want colored paper or you got a better idea, something else you'd like to use, I mean, it's your journal. You can sure do whatever you want with it. So I'm just going to do that. And once again, when I put this down, I want to make sure that I am not over my little fold line. And I go by this one because I'm going to have a little bit showing over there on that side, and that's perfectly fine. It just reveals the spine color. I'm just moving this, and I am going to have a little left over on this too, but I just want to make sure I do not get, so I was just a little shorter than 9 or something. So I just want to make sure I do not get it on this little fold line here, because then my flap isn't going to work right. And I don't know if you can even see it, but I have got, oh, I'm off. I am off. Can I still move it? Can I still move it? Close enough. By all means, try to get it positioned a little better. I'm ending up cutting a little bit off. I am just a little bit off, and it's not going to show. For the sake of the video, I don't want to peel this off and try again, and I don't have any more of the yellow, so just in case you have a little boo-boo, make sure you got it down. I am just a little tiny bit, not less than 1/8 of an inch off, but it was enough to have to cut, so by all means, please be careful, and then just push it down really good, and we'll glue the other side. I'm having so much fun making this stuff. I've got a wreath in the works for spring, and I'm making paper flowers out of coffee filters and dyeing them with Distress ink, because I want bright spring colors for my flowers. And maybe if this video isn't running too long, I'll show you my flowers I've been making. And one I tried, you all know I like to recycle my baby wipes after I've used them for inks or paints or whatever, because I can't see throwing them out. I mean, I get them at the dollar store, so I get a pack of like 100 for $1, but or 80 or whatever, but I just can't see, you know, throwing them out. So, and on this one, I want to line it up even with my outside edge over here. And once again, I think I'm going to come off just a little bit long. But it's better to be too long than too short. So, what is it? May says, measure twice, cut once, because once you cut it, you really can't go back and do it again. I believe that's what she says. Sorry, May if I misquoted you. I think it's measure twice, cut once. And I am really off down here because I'm really off up here, because I'm just not having any luck with this today. I don't know if I can still move it. Sometimes you can still move the paper, sometimes you can't. Okay, it's going to be a little off. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just trying to get this done because, let's face it, in the past, due to stuff that was happening in my life, I didn't always get my videos done. My bad, my sorry. So I have to cut them this way, so I'm just going to cut this little bit off of here. And I may not be on camera right now, but I'm just trimming off this little edge. And it's not very much, it's just a tiny bit. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be... Oh, I can't get these scissors to work right in here. And a lot of people are like, well, why don't you use the tiny pointed ones? And I do have them, I just do not use them. Because right now, I have a cataract in one eye that's kind of really screwing stuff up. And financially, it's not going to happen. It's not, I mean, it's not good, but it's not real bad, but it's enough sometimes when you're doing stuff, so. And besides, I've just always preferred full-size scissors for everything I do. So, this is what we have. We have our spine covered. We have our back and front covered. Now, I'm going to do the same thing with this little piece here that I have done with all the others. And I'm just going to cut a piece, put it in there. And I'm going to use the yellow this time on it. So I would say I'm probably going to need at least 3 inches on there just to cover it all. And I'm going to do it just like I did the outside. I'm just going to glue it down. For the sake of, 3 inches is going to be way too much. Let's try 2.5. That should do it. I think it just looks bigger than it is. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to glue it down and put it like I did. What did it say? That was my paper cutter taking a dive off a box I have sitting over there that I just put it on. Awesome. Well, at least you know you're crafting with me. I should have called this, Disasters in Crafting or something like that. That's what I should have called this channel, because I usually have at least one while I'm doing it. So, if you ever were to refer to my channel, just so you know, the one who always has disasters. I gotta say, I miss crafting Kitty. She's been gone, I think, like 2 years, or a little, 2 years, and I miss her. She was so much fun, and you guys seem to really love her, and I don't have a kitty that is taking up where she left off. I have Rusty, one I call the Orange Menace. He's so cute. But yeah, he would like to be in here, but he would be getting into stuff and not up here helping me, so I miss crafting Kitty. She was awesome. Anyway, I'm just going to cut that off. Cut this little piece off over here. Try not to cut my folder while I'm at it. Those are too small. There's got to be a line you draw in saving paper and cardstock and what you throw out, and I definitely need to not save every little bit, so since those were so small, I'm not going to be saving them. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to try to do this on camera. It's so much easier to pick it up and do it. I'm going to try to do it on camera with you, and I'm just cutting off the little edge over here. Okay, so normally I would take an X-Acto knife, or I call them hobby knives, and I would use that because that would give me a much better cut. But for the sake of getting the video done and not having to dig out my cutting mat and all that, we're just going to go ahead and do it this way for today. I don't get quite the nice even cut that I would like, and then I have to go back and trim it, but I want to get this video done for you too, so just do it this way for now, and if I have to go back and trim up a little bit later, we'll just do that not on camera. You don't need to watch me do that. So I'm having trouble getting right into that little curve there, so I'll take a knife later on, and I didn't get that, so, but I'll take a knife later on, straighten this all up. I really didn't want this video to run too long, but I'm scared it's going to. But we are almost done, so maybe not. I don't know, I'm having a little problem with this edge here, so I'm going to trim off what I can and go back in and finish it up later with my hobby knife. Okay, so basically we have got this thing almost done. Next, I will be, as soon as I retrieve my cutter from the floor, I will be cutting my spine. Now, wide or narrow you want your spine, that's your choice. I know I'm going to need 3/4 of an inch in here, and I did these at 2 3/4 inches, and I'm going to just line my ruler up on here. So I'll line my ruler up on here, and like I said, I know I have that 3/4 of an inch, and I'm thinking 2 3/4 will work just fine here too, because I don't really need a lot of overlap. Sometimes when you're making a journal or something like that, you know, you want the spine to look a certain way, you want a certain amount of the paper over, you know, to so that it, you know, it looks right, or it's what you want. You know, you leave yourself enough to embellish or whatever you're going to do. On this, I don't need that, so what I'm going to do is just cut it at 2 3/4 inches, like the inside one. So we'll go 2 3/4 by 9. Oops, let's get it straight here. I haven't figured out how I'm going to close this one either yet. I have some really big snaps. I bought a bunch of buttons and these big snaps came in there. They're like, oh, at least 3/4 of an inch. I may use those. I don't know yet. So you're not going to see me finishing with any closures today, but there are so many people out there who do videos of, you know, and they do closures, and I've done some, and I just haven't really decided yet. So I'm scoring at 1 inch again, just like I did the inside, and then I am scoring at 1 3/4. So I have my 3/4 of an inch, and sometimes you'll find when you're doing this, depending on your spine on the outside, because you're going out over what you've already, you know, you've folded, sometimes you may have to go in and score like just 1/8 of an inch bigger, just to give yourself a little more room so it overlaps, or so that it folds over the spine right, and you don't have it pulling too tight. So, and I did not Mod Podge my paper. I thought about it, but I didn't think about it until after I had it laid down. Generally, I Mod Podge first and let it dry, because it always ripples. And if you Mod Podge first and let it dry, and then put it on, you have a less chance of rippling, or at least I do. So that might be something you want to think about. So now I'm just folding this up, same way I did the other one, just kind of working it around. Keep the paper up a little bit with my hands. Okay, and I'm going to put this over here, and hopefully it is not going to do what the other one did. Okay, so now it's just time to put your spine on, and we're going to do that just like we did the other one, only just the opposite way. We're going to put it over the back part of the spine first. So let me just get some glue going there. And I can see right now, can you see I've got, oh wait, this way. Maybe. I don't know if you can see this, but I've got some extra paper up here, one spot. So I'm going to need to trim that away. I measured a little long when I did that one, and it's hanging over the edge, and that is enough that it could screw up my paper that's going over my spine. So I'm just going to trim that off. And my cut wasn't exactly the straightest or the best, but that's not going to matter because it's going to be covered anyway. So now we're just going to glue this part of the spine. Now I see I've got a part really sticking up here yet. Just going to trim that down a little bit. And I'm going to take my spine folded and stick it over my my spine piece. I'm going to stick over my spine where it's folded. And again, I want this down good. I just heard the weirdest noise. And so I'm just going to stick it through. I'm just going to run my fingers over it so I get it stuck really good. Now, when I go to glue this part, I'm going to do it exactly like the other. I'm going to be gluing this, and I'm going to be putting it vertically to make sure I don't get those ripples in here. And it's looking like it might, but we'll see. So I'm just going to kind of fold it the other way a little bit so I can get my glue on. This just kind of helps it work itself, you know, work the paper a little more so it's more receptive to being folded, because even though this is a thin cardstock, it's still pretty stiff when you go to fold it. What the heck? Oh, that's my door or what it is there, but it don't sound good. It sounds like somebody letting air out of a balloon, and I know we don't have one of them, so I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's a door. Anyway, I'm just going to push this down really, really good so I get the glue to stick. Then I'm going to take it and I'm just going to carefully fold it up. And see, I don't know if you can see that, but it popped out on me here. See that right there? So what I want to make sure I'm doing is I want to make sure that doesn't do that. So I'm going to put it back down, rub my glue in a little more. Yep, I've got some waves in here, which I did not want. And if I go over it with my finger enough, I can work most of it out, but I think I'm going to end up with a little bit in there. And that's probably just because I folded it too soon. Over for the glue. As you can see now, it's laying flat. See, it's no longer popping up. And it may, as you go, so while it's in the process of gluing, just keep smoothing it down and everything should be good. Okay, now I'm just going to do the other side the same way. Just going to apply a liberal amount of glue. You can always take something and wipe the glue off if you get too much. And that's where Mod Podging comes in also. It makes it a lot easier to wipe your excess glue off if you get some on there. And it also, you know, adds some protection to the front of your book. So now I'm going to put this down and really push it down. Just keep going over it. If you get it glued good, your book should last quite a while. So now I'm going to pull it up and bend it over. And I'm going to keep pushing down. Keep making sure I got this, you know, this glue is really adhering to it. And you have your spine covered. So we're just about there. We are so close now. And I told you last time I don't have any more of that elastic thread like I had. I'm going to have to get some. And so what I'm going to do when I do this is I'm going to show you with just a piece of yarn I've got here. I would not use yarn. I would definitely invest in some elastic thread, but you can use, you know, something like a yarn. You just have to get it pulled tight enough. So what I did next was, and I'm just going to eyeball what looks like about halfway. This is how I did mine. But keep in mind, this is only because I am using this very, very, very thick watercolor paper, which I already have folded. I have 10 sheets folded. That gives me 20 pages in my journal. So what I did was I just took my crocodile and I just kind of eyeballed it, what it looked like about center and about how far down I wanted it. And I don't want to go very far, no more than like, you know, the center of my hole being around the ½ inch mark, maybe not even quite. And then I just poked 2 holes in it. And like I said, if you're using a very stiff paper, this is going to work. If you're using a paper that is not so stiff, I don't believe I would do this because it's going to pull the ends of your... It's going to take your paper, and I believe because it's elastic, it's going to pull the ends inward, and then it's going to mess your page up. So what I did was, I had the elastic, and I doubled it. So I was working with a double piece. I cut it because I didn't want the, you know, the little loopy end. And so what I did was, I took it, and I just put it through the holes. I've got a loopy end, what the heck? Okay, it's got a, okay, we just got to get rid of this and we're good. I was like, why is this a loop instead of, you know, a string? And, well, I guess it's because it was. Okay, so what I would do with my elastic is I would cut right here where the end loops around because it's a piece of yarn and I don't want to cut it. But I would cut that so I would have basically 2 pieces. You wouldn't have to, but I think just for me it made tying easier. Okay, so then I just threaded them. I don't know how well you can see. I just put them through my hole at the top so that I had some left over. And I put it through my hole at the bottom. Oh, I can get it through. That's probably why I cut the elastic threads, because the little loops weren't cooperating. I cut it through, and then, I mean, you could tie it in the middle, bottom, top, whatever. I went part way, and what I did was I just tied it off, and I made sure, because it was elastic, I was pulling it really, really, really tight in here. I didn't want it, I don't want this loose. I don't want it so tight that I can't slip the pages in, so what I did basically was I pulled a little bit, shoved how many papers I would need through. Yes, this is easier said than done if you do that, but if you get it good and tight, but so that you have a little bit of give, you know, like, then it should be fine. And then I just tied it off, and I did a double knot just to make sure it would hold, and it held really well. So that's what I did with that. If you're not using thicker paper like I am, then I would go around, I would just loop it around like this, your elastic, and then I would just tie it off back here, and again, just leave yourself enough room that you can expand it enough to get your pages in. And I guess one rule of thumb that I use on that is, let me get the other journal that I've done, put it back in, see I've got it, so this is really stretchy elastic, and I was kind of worried about whether it would hold. So what I did was I put it in, and then I held it up like so, and my pages aren't wanting to fall out, they're not wanting to give. You can see my elastic moving a little bit on that one end, but that's not a big deal. But if your pages don't readily want to fall out when you tilt it, you probably have it tight enough. Anyway, like I said, I put a pocket back here to hold my parchment paper that I use, or wax papers. You could do that. You could put a belly band across the middle instead to hold it. Or you could just leave it blank and make it a page you could just doodle on or whatever. Anyway, that is it. That's how quick, easy, and simple this really is. I hope that you will try it, and I hope that you will have a lot of fun doing it. Thank you very much for joining me, and all of you have a great day. Bye-bye.